Hey, girlfriend.
Girlfriend.
I want to get into this idea of being good enough in midlife.
Oh, I feel that.
Oh, I mean, I just want to like collapse in on myself a little bit.
Yes.
And I think part of it too is this thing that you and I are stepping into, this recovering good girl. We're wearing our matching shirts today. And you can join us. We got our little shirts. They're on sale right now, 10% off. The link is down below. But I think there's something about being a recovering good girl.
Mm,
And really, like the way I think about it lately is like I'm going through that process of being a recovering good girl and stepping into that healing. And
yes.
I'm finding myself, my whole and well self on the other side. And so, like, what are those things? Today, I thought we could talk about a few of those things that I've really been noodling on. Like for me, that's like parenting, it's about relationships and the cleanliness of my house.
I
Those are the things where I'm
like
like,
that.
you know what? It's good enough.
There you go. Right? Done is better than perfect.
Yes.
Yes. And when you brought this topic up, which I just love, I think it's so relatable. The first word that popped into my mind was perfectionism.
Yeah.
Because being a recovering good girl is so much about being a recovering perfectionist.
Right.
And, learning more in therapy that perfectionism can be a trauma response. It
Yes.
can be a way for us to make sure we're safe and make sure we're doing all right and that we're not going to get punished or misunderstood. I love what you said, though, like moving through it. I think that it's such a great challenge and opportunity at our age to
Mm,
go, oh, you know what? I am finally going to do this and trust that this is literally good enough. This is clean enough. This is smart enough. This is all the things. Fill in your blank of what you're feeling right now as enough and try to work with that. And I agree. It's like it's moving through it. And for me, it's a dance. I mean, that's why
oh,
this
yes.
recovering good girl is so true. This will be the dance from here on. But I do love that. I feel like I am getting stronger. I am getting more well-footed in this idea of good enough.
Yeah.
And that is our North Star,
And
is
guess
just
what?
good
The
enough.
sky doesn't fall. People don't go running from our lives. The right people don't go running from our lives,
That's
but
right.
the wrong ones do.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
their hair's on fire.
Yes.
And we show them the door. It's like, oh my gosh, that is an amazing gift you just gave me. Thank you. Bye. Slam the door
Right.
and you lock it behind them.
Oh my gosh, yes, because when we're more tolerant with ourselves and accepting, we're going to be that way with other people. And the folks that aren't are not on that same journey that
Yeah,
we want to be on.
exactly.
Totally. Okay, I love that. Well, the ones that popped up for me were also like work, um, body image, parenting, and marriage.
Mm,
Mhm.
all of those. Right.
Mhm.
We come into all of those things with a lot of preconceived notions,
Mhm.
ideas, expectations of ourselves, unrealistic models that we hold in front of ourselves,
Right?
and like we'll compare our insides to someone else's outsides or what they choose to share on the outside, say on social media.
Which is just harder than ever now with social
It's
media.
just
What
nonsense.
everyone is projecting, and I think it's really great for us in our position to actually reflect, hey, that's not real, because that's not real for anyone. And I feel like for our young people and our kids who are still like discerning the difference, it's really damaging.
Yeah.
So for us to actually go, that ain't right. Like how liberating for us and how healing for everyone else to be able to do that.
So healing. And for me, that has been one of the biggest gifts that I'm discovering in my own midlife journey, right?
Mm,
And being a recovering good girl, reclaiming myself, and the energy that I wasted walking on eggshells, keeping the peace, because I wasn't keeping my peace. I was
yeah.
keeping someone else's peace. And now I have peace in my heart. It's
Yes.
like, oh, right. I need my energy back for me,
Yes.
for my business, my relationship,
Yeah.
my parenting, my my
Yeah.
health, everything
Yeah.
requires all of me. And I've given too much of that away
You got it.
by chasing perfectionism, by chasing being a good girl, being perceived as good. I love not caring about that as much anymore.
I love it. I love it. Why is the song With or Without You by U2 coming to mind on the verse? And you give yourself away and you give yourself away and you give and you give. I was like, yes, I'm feeling that.
Yeah.
Right? How many of us feel that way? Yes, reclaiming that, right? Like Maxine Waters said, I am reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming what I need for myself. So often younger, we we have to be mothers or we're partners or we're friends or we're good daughters, whatever it is. But there is a wonderful space now
Mm.
to step into that. And I just absolutely love that for us. There's also such an interesting statistic in the career realm, which is that on average, men totally overestimate their qualifications and women totally underestimate ours.
Yes. And I think it's directly connected to this very thing.
It is absolutely connected to this,
Yeah.
that we don't feel good enough unless we are more than good enough.
Right. And it's either an external validation or
Mm-hmm.
whether it's the letters after our name or
Mm-hmm.
whatever the thing is, the certificates, the amount of money you earn. We're looking for something outside of us to
Mm-hmm.
show us that we are good enough. And that's such this cultural story. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, be a good girl. Just
Mm-hmm.
keep your head down and your mouth shut and your legs crossed and your,
Absolutely.
don't mess up, don't make a mistake. And I think also for being a woman of color, the world tends to underestimate us.
That's
And
right.
so I have so much of my life felt like I had to work even harder,
Mm-hmm.
longer, smarter, more letters after my name, more things to prove I deserve this seat at the table. I
That's right.
deserve this life. I deserve the things that I have cultivated and managed and created for myself.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. That
Yes.
pressure, I can just imagine. And as a woman, I can absolutely relate. And then I think a woman of color has that even more pressure. Also, that sort of idea of like being the ideal role model, representing a whole group.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
that's just a lot of pressure that all feeds into perfectionism. And so, good enough, y'all. Good enough. I wonder what you're feeling right now. I love that you brought up the house cleanliness too. That like there's a little dust on this windowsill. It's good enough, right?
Or like at my house, I live with all dudes. So I've been teaching my sons, boys, toilet brush, toilet. How do we swish this thing around?
Yes,
And are they doing a great job? No. But they're learning that that's important and it
yeah,
doesn't magically get cleaned.
that's right.
They're learning that they need to leave my house knowing how to handle that, right?
Mhm.
And so while it's not amazing, it's good enough because I know that they're learning that skill.
Oh
They're
my
they're
gosh.
learning it.
Yes, my sons are doing laundry and the way they do their laundry is a little crazy making to me. And our younger son was confessing how much like laundry detergent he used. And we were like, oh my word, that's why we keep running out of laundry detergent. But
Oh,
they're learning.
right.
And this is what's important for them to learn how to do.
And that's good enough. Like, okay, so it's a little expensive on the soap, but it's a teachable moment
Yep.
and you're not saving him or using all of your energy.
No,
It's easier if I just do it because I know
absolutely.
that feeling too. Oh, it's just
Hmm.
easier. Just let me do the dishes. Just let me empty the dishwasher. Let me do the garbage because I will do it my way.
Yeah.
I've got 51 years of experience, maybe 41 years of experience if I'm real. I didn't start chores until I was like 10, but I think there's that like, oh, it's good enough.
Yeah.
So he, hasn't learned yet how to swish the inside of the trash can. We'll get there. We'll
Yeah.
get there. And I don't need to go in and save him
Right.
and take away his learning opportunity or his agency
Right.
in doing whatever the task is at hand.
And that is such an important lesson for mothers or for caretakers that even though sometimes it's easier to just do it yourself, we know we like it done a certain way. Delegating is key.
Yeah.
Delegating is key and letting go of the control. Because I think the dark side of perfectionism is control.
Oh, yes.
And that when we want to control the environment or when we want to control the task that's done, we would rather do it ourselves because then we have it done the way we want. And I know there are those things where you're like, I just need to do this. This is my thing I need to do. But with like my partner, sometimes I delegate things and, is he doing it the way I would? No. And I'm biting my tongue. But I have to recognize, no, there's that little controlling part that if I critique how he did it, that's not helpful. It's
Exactly.
not helpful.
It gets nothing done.
Nope.
It gets nothing done. So
Mhm.
I think it's so important to stay in our own skin is one of the ways I think of it and the way I talk about it for myself. I'm
Yeah.
staying in my own skin. And now if I have this perspective of it's good enough,
Mhm.
then I just have to, and sometimes I'll even say it, well, I think that's good enough. It's good enough for today. Let's move on to the next thing that needs to be handled. Right. Because I think part of it too now is modeling it for my children.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. And let's also bring up that kind of interesting pressure that, well, you just have to work harder. You just have to do it longer, right?
Mhm.
That also, I think, creeps into this feeling of like, are you a quitter? Are you just, compromising when you do say good enough? So just like knowing what those like kind of trigger responses are in the brain of going, this is all I got today. We're going to move on. And they talk about that in disagreements, that it's actually a really healthy response to go, I think we're at a little bit of a, block here. Let's pick this up later when we're fresh.
Yeah.
And giving ourselves that full permission to just take things in little small doses, not push through it and think, oh no, I'm going to just like absolutely finish this and complete this. I think there's like at least in my experience, this kind of completion thing that's tied in to, to being perfect, right?
Mm.
That I can't quit or stop midway. I gotta see this through. Right. And that's not a healthy response. So you're right. We're modeling it. And also, as girlfriends of a certain age, our brains, our focus levels are going to thank us. That's really important.
And I really believe I have bigger fish to fry than worrying about like dust on picture frames or, little things like that. It's like, no, I'm here to make a difference. I'm 51. I'm thinking about my legacy.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about living authentically. I'm thinking about speaking my truth, even when it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's where I want my energy to go to. And being a recovering good girl, it's like this constant push of like, oh, why am I doing that? That doesn't feel authentic. Oh, because I'm being good again. I
Mm-hmm.
think that I'm supposed to do this or that, or someone wants me to do this thing that I'm just kind of like, I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. That's requiring my energy. So the cleanliness of like the perfect toilet or the perfect countertop or whatever, I just don't feel the energy for it. And I actually never did. I always
Mm-hmm.
joked my husband did not marry me for my housekeeping skills. And so like
Yeah.
that's just never been a thing. It was super, super, super important, like having a showcase home.
Right.
I got tested the other day. I had somebody over to our house and I was looking around. I was like, oh, hell no. Boys, let's go. Let's go. Come on. And we were cleaning and talking about, well, and they were like, why are we doing it now? And I said, well, we're having some company over, which is
Mhm.
actually a great strategy for cleaning sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Invite people over. And I'm like, they don't need to see your socks in the crevice of the couch.
Right.
We don't need your trick shots that were set up 3 days ago to have to step over that, not realizing I'm stepping over it for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Things like that. So it was actually really interesting to test it. And where was it was the first time she's ever come over and I really want to show her a
Uh-huh.
good time and I made a beautiful cake and this and blah, blah, blah. And then the house, it was like, you know what? I'm hosting. I want to feel comfortable and relaxed.
That's
She's
right.
got kids. I got kids. This is good enough. Let's
It's
do this.
It's so good enough. And it's always so important to remember when we're hosting, remember when you're going over to someone else's house, you're not like scrutinizing what their house looks like. You're happy to be a guest, right? You made them a cake. My God, that's incredible. So I think just do whatever feels like being a good host for yourself that, like you said, feels like a really good way within your own skin, but they're not noticing that stuff. They're thrilled to be over, hanging out, your company, your connection. That's what matters.
I mean, I have had people come over. I've had one or two
Ew.
ladies of a certain age
I hope they're not
do
back. Next time, go meet out for lunch.
exactly.
No.
Exactly. And both times I made a joke out of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, do you want to take care of that? Here, guys,
Ah,
here's the rag.
yeah.
If you have the attention and the energy and the rudeness to point out something like that in my home, get to work.
Oh my gosh, put the cake away and
Yeah,
like bring out the mop. Be like,
exactly.
knock yourself
Cake
out.
time's over. It's time to clean.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that is so not cute. That
yeah.
is so not cute. I think that a kind of insecurity for me can be around like parenting and my kids. And when I'm in my right frame of mind, I am rocking it as a parent. Our family feels great. And what I notice is if there's a hard spot, which with teenagers is often, I'll get outside of myself
Mm,
and I'll start looking from the outside in. What do people think of that behavior? What do they think of us? Do they think that's what happened? Da, 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 nurture versus nature, you name it. And I'll just go down that. And luckily, I catch it a lot faster now.
mm,
But I'll never forget that my former therapist, I loved him, talked about how there's two ways to look at ourselves. There's the horizontal way where we're looking outside of ourselves at what other people might be looking at. And there's the other way that's lined up right through our center, that's
mm.
perpendicular, where we're just like really feeling in our center, and even up to kind of like a higher purpose. And so what I just try to do, because that physical image really helps me, is if I start feeling myself looking outside of myself, and what people might be thinking about or judging, I try to come back to this and ask, is this something that I'm really concerned about, or is this me imagining it outside of myself?
Ding, ding, ding. That's such a great question for the recovering good girl. Such a great question because you can lay that or you can look at it through the lens, like any situation through that lens.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I know and part of me thinks, oh, I'll never ask myself that. There'll be a day where I never ask myself that, but I don't think so. I think that this will be a journey. I think there will be a time where I'll look back even at today and go, oh gosh, but it's part of the process. And I love that we are in a position now to even call this out.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In my early motherhood journey, because I was also starting a new business that had to be very successful,
Mm.
and like there was so much I wanted, there was so much I was calling in, there was so much I was desperate to be and do and have and feel that I was constantly running. I think back on that time and it's
Mm.
like, I have so much compassion for myself and I feel
Mm.
not sad for her because I did everything I wanted to do. I have no regrets, but
Mhm.
I realized that how much energy I was putting into things outside of myself, right? Because I wanted so much to be home with my baby and I wanted
Mhm.
to be able to be the one taking care of him and all these other things that I was calling in.
Right.
But the energy leaking out, trying to impress this person or that person, or the facade of,
Mm.
always having it together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really hard, really
Really hard.
exhausting.
Do you think too that Gen X and older generations have a different journey with this than the younger generations?
It seems to be. It'll be interesting to see when this, Gen Alpha and Gen Z, when they're paying bills and they're having families and
Mhm.
they're out in the world. I'm really curious to see
Mhm.
how that'll be different. So it might
Mhm.
be too soon for us to really know. I know they
Mhm.
talk about it differently.
Mhm.
They're more relaxed, more open-minded, more open to self-expression,
Yeah, mental health.
mental health.
And I think knowing your limits, taking mental health days. We didn't know what a mental health day was, right? We got stars for just having perfect attendance, right? Like that was
We were
our,
taught to push through no matter what.
which then feeds into this so much. So I do think that there's something shifting. I think that this is very, very baked into our culture. So I think, you could start looking at capitalism and a lot of things that also are like real proponents for this. But I do feel like there's a lot more conversation
Mm.
around it. And I think that it's really important for us, especially, I feel like as Gen Xers, we have like one foot in the past and one foot in, the new world. And that we can, kind of be a bridge for both to recognize, wow, this really was the way we were taught and raised, but look at like these really beautiful new opportunities. So,
Oh, yeah. I'm so excited for that. I do feel like the world is changing
mhm,
and we're here at a really interesting and exciting time. And
mhm.
that our generation is bridging both worlds,
Yeah,
right? We
yeah,
remember a world before there was this kind of technology
yeah,
and then after, and then the code switching that we get to navigate moving forward.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think too, through doing this podcast and for myself doing performance and reassuring people who do public speaking and performing, it's very often once we put ourselves out there to question ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
So it's this dance, right? It's the step forward, step back. And you see it even in child development, right? They learn a new skill and they're excited. And then suddenly they're like clinging to their little binky, more closely. We do that in our life. So don't be surprised if you go to do something and say, this is good enough. And I'm putting it out there and I'm having that friend over or I'm doing this thing that those little kind of creepy, self-doubt critters rear up and it's just part of the game. And I would just say, give them as little time as you can. They're the peanut
Mm.
gallery. They're serving a purpose. They're there from your little nervous system to just check in. Was that okay? Was that okay? Did you do all right? Did you do all right? Just try not to give them much attention. They aren't really serving a very helpful purpose now. But I do think that when we put ourselves out there and claim this was good enough, what I did was good enough, and I'm putting it out there in the world to um, trust that you've got a good gut, you've got a good instinct, and because I do think that that is a nervous system response.
Absolutely. But you bringing that up reminds me too of trolls and other
Oh,
assholes that think they can
yeah, the literal peanut gallery.
yeah, take
Yeah.
things from behind their computer screen, right? And then go off as if like that never happened, that they didn't cause harm. And so I think
That's a
that
good
that
point.
happens too. And I know that you and I, as entrepreneurs who are in the online space, that how we've celebrated, it means that means I'm saying something worth fighting against.
Yes.
That somebody took the time out of their lives to leave a comment. And you and I high-fived our first troll when it happened here on the podcast because we find it sort of hilarious, right?
Mhm.
And it's also an opportunity. We have to consider the source, right?
Yes.
So if all the comments are like that, you're whatever, being hateful or rude, maybe you need to take that
Mm,
in, but you also need to consider like maybe this person's just having a really shitty day or they're not feeling in control and agency in their own lives. And that's where, again, where community can be so helpful
yeah.
because when that comes in, the nasty comment, the mean email, you just
Vitriol.
show it to your friend, your beloveds,
Yes, you
show
do.
it to your therapist and be
Yes.
like, how is this about me? Can you help me understand?
That's right.
And I think that's really important because that's related to the
Mm.
inner troll. That's
Mm.
a nervous system hiccup or,
Mhm.
safety system. But
Mhm.
when it comes from the outside,
That's so important. We can actually really believe it. It can really,
yes,
really hurt. And it's totally not true most of the time. Also, I only have a very small circle of people who I really care what they think.
yes,
Right.
exactly,
And if they have something that they really need to bring up, that's important to me. But all these, little trolls and stuff, that's not worth my time. Yeah.
exactly.
And once in a while with a troll, just to have a lot of fun, I'll respond with like super kindness just to throw them off. Right? They're
Yeah.
baiting us. They're looking for a little something. And
Well,
I'm
they're energy vampires looking for energy from you.
there you go.
And so when you just like respond to that with love or lightness, it's like there's nothing to fight back about. It's
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
she didn't play. What the
Right.
hell?
Right.
Yeah. Then they'll go and they'll find their supply someplace else.
Oh,
They'll get off on it elsewhere.
yes. I love that. I love that. So we aren't gonna follow those gaslighters or our inner ones, right? And just be aware that sometimes those creep up. But I love this practice. I just think that that should be a beautiful mantra that I incorporate in my life a lot, which is this is good enough.
It's good
This
enough.
meal is good enough. My house cleaning is good enough. This podcast is good enough. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I think there's a lot There's a lot to it. And if you don't know where that is, I would say do some time, spend some time with yourself and your values. What do you value?
Yeah.
And if you really do value a spotless house, then those are your own personal values.
Mm,
And so go and chase that. But make sure that whatever you're chasing, putting your energy into, is genuinely something from deep down inside of you, not what they told you you should be focused on. And they could be any number of things, your parents, your family of origin, religion, books, the culture, what you've, heard the president say. You just never know, like, where these kinds of shoulds come from. But I think
so
it's so
many.
important to figure out for you as an individual, what do you value? And then go chase that.
Ah, that feels so good. I feel like you're giving us a really beautiful gift of just permission to be ourselves,
Yeah.
right? And humans are complicated. Humans are messy. Humans don't get everything right. What would be the point? And so it's just so much more based in reality. And I think that when I sense someone who's trying to strive for everything to be perfect, I actually really feel for them because
Mm,
that's not really how life works. That's
no.
not a very meaningful life. It's gonna get messy.
Yeah. When you find yourself white knuckling and someone asked me, what does that mean, white knuckling? I'm like, you can see like the whites on your knuckles. They're just like, oh, I do
Yeah.
those things so badly. That level of control is actually zapping us of our energy.
Mm, it
There's
is.
something Mel Robbins says that really spoke to me. It was so beautiful and so gentle. And
Mm,
she calls it the let them theory. You
mm,
know, your boss is being an asshole,
mm,
let them. Your
mm,
husband's not doing the thing you want, let him. Like,
mm.
just let people be themselves and let yourself be yourself. And I'm not here to say it's a really easy path.
No,
Having people get mad at you for, standing up for yourself or speaking up or
right.
just saying no, whatever the thing is that you need to do
Yeah.
is not always easy.
No.
But I will tell you, as someone who lived in absolute terror of
Mm-hmm.
that,
Mm-hmm.
there is such freedom in being disliked.
Such freedom. You're also going to be more authentic when you actually have opinions, and everyone does, and everyone has permission to have opinions. But when you have one, someone's going to disagree with you.
Yes.
And that's fine. That's how it works. That's how opinions work. And I know that as a people pleaser in recovery, there's still such an instinct to go with the flow and to agree. And it's not being truthful. So it's more important to speak your truth, or like you're saying, let them. Maybe you don't need to take that on.
Yeah.
Right. If it's an instance where you don't need to take on, all right, okay, fine. Yeah, okay. I'm
Yeah.
gonna just go on being myself.
I mean, the whole concept blew my mind. It's
Yeah.
so simple. And I understood it when I heard it, but the simplicity of our girl Mel just being like, let
Yeah.
them, let them all, let everyone do all of their things.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's really tied in with this good enough.
Yes.
It's going to be good enough.
That's right. Where people are going to do what they're going to do, and that's just how it is. So thank you. This is a beautiful topic. Girlfriends, whenever you need to say good enough, you're looking at your bathroom and you're going, it's good enough today. If you're looking at your grout going, it's good enough today. Or your next career move, from us to you truly are good enough.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. What a beautiful note to end on.
Okay, beautiful. Well, until next time, girlfriends, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.